You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hello, everyone. It has been a doozy of a week over here. I am literally recording this from my phone in my hotel room in Nashville, where I am currently packing up everything to get the heck out of here and get on a plane and go back home. I was in town because we received a bunch of new machines, and like literally an entire semi full of machines, and I was helping unload those and get them set up here at the Stringjoy shop, and just having a little bit of a Nashville experience. One thing I wanted to tell you about, I did a little experiment. You may have seen while I was here, I think on the 17th, May 17th, yes, Maris announced their new LVX pedal, and I got one. They let me play with a little sneak peek one. Well, it's a production one, but they let me take a look at it ahead of release, and I recorded a whole song with it, which I will be releasing on the American Cyclops streaming places, so Spotify, Apple Music, all that jazz, very, very soon. I recorded a song with it here in my hotel room at like 2 a.m, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's very creepy, and there's a very slow build up, but on every single track, it's featuring a different setting using the LVX. This thing is just nuts. Maris isn't sponsoring this episode or anything. I just really wanted to let you know that you can look forward to that if you are following American Cyclops on any of the streaming services. I'm really happy with how this turned out and very surprised because it was a distinct departure from my usual method of making music. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this episode with my dude, Markus Reeves. He makes some incredible pedals. He's a really intelligent dude. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I think you're going to really like this conversation. So let's dive into this with Markus Reeves from Reeves Electro. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Markus Reeves of Reeves Electro, a pedal artist. Here he is.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, no problems. I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Blake. It's a pleasure to be here. I've listened to the podcast, so it's nice to be part of it.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. I'm excited to dive into you because really all I know about you is that you make just the best pedal guts ever. That's really all I know about you. Yes. You make great sounding pedals that look amazing inside. So let's take it from the beginning. Where did you get started, not just with pedals, but with playing in general, and how did it evolve into what you're doing now?
Well, I guess, I picked up a guitar when I was probably about 12 or 14, and kind of messed with it for a few years, didn't really do a massive amount. And then, I suppose by about 16, 17, I started playing with other guys, and, put a band together, and that was that. And it was just kind of a thing that you did in the 70s. I'm an old guy, so there was no internet, there was no, you just kind of made your own fun, and being in a band was part of it if you could play guitar. And I was into kind of well, really big cross section of stuff. So, going back to like the Small Faces and the Who and the Yardbirds and, all those kind of 60s rhythm and blues acts. But that kind of came to me through some of the modern acts like the Jam, a British band fronted by a guy called Paul Weller, who was like a mod kind of guy, and he was all into the Ivy League and loafers and all that kind of stuff. Right. And he kind of took me back, but looking back on it, I gravitated towards all the bands that used fuzz. I didn't know back then. Right. But the Yardbirds and the Who partly, and the Small Faces, and lots of bands. There was lots of fuzz going on, and there was something about that sound that obviously intrigued me. And I didn't really get into electronics until probably into my 30s, to be honest. But my dad was a man that was scared of fixing nothing, from tractors to garages to wristwatches to pens, anything. Nothing scared him. If it was broken, he could fix it, and I guess I picked that thing up as a doer and a maker from him, and I slowly started getting into electronics, and then I went to an exhibition of a guy called Peter Vogel, who's a German artist. And he would do these huge point-to-point installations, like 10 meters long, of things. Whoa. And they had like proximity sensors and LFOs and all sorts of things. And you could, just by moving past them, they would play different tones. Really, really worth looking up. Peter Vogel, artist, Vogel.
Okay.
And I was really transfixed, and it got me into a genre of electronics called circuit bending, where you take a like a speak and spell, a kid's toy that talks, and then you get in there and you kind of screw with the circuit and make it do weird things. Or that they used to get the talking Barbie dolls and action men and get them to do odd things and turn them into installations. It's just a really, really strange circuit bending. And they'd take like keyboards and make them do interesting things. And again, that's something worth looking into. And I kind of got into that for a couple of years. And then I suppose in my late 30s, I had my own printing business alongside all this. And I suppose in my late 30s, around about 2009, 2010, when the kind of financial crash came, my business went under. I lost my house, lost everything.
Man.
Yeah. I was sofa surfing for a year. And I started. I'd always gigged a little bit, but I started gigging quite a lot, and I thought I want some pedals, but I'm broke. And I started salvaging components out of old videos and anything I could find if I knew the component on, and started building myself pedals, and I was making them in tobacco tins, anything I could find, because I just didn't have the money to buy the stuff. And at one point, I didn't even have the money to buy the kind of circuit board, the Vero board stuff. I haven't got one here, but it's just like a board with loads of holes in it that you connect stuff in. So I thought, and then the whole thing with Peter Vogel came back to me. Hang on a minute, I don't need that circuit board, and I just started joining them components together. And the first one looked like, I'd thrown up in an enclosure. It was just bath. It was a mess, but I thought there's something here, and it did. Something about the integrity of the signal really made me kind of think, I like this. And I've spent the last 20 years not perfecting it. That's the wrong word, but working it forward really, and that's where I am now. So lots of stuff have come into it. My printing experience when I left school, I was a screen printer, and that kind of led to me having my own digital print business. But I've kind of used all that. I screen print the enclosures before they're acid etched. So I kind of, pulling on all my bits of experience to do this thing.
That's actually a topic that my wife and I got into the other day, because I have a tendency to be a little bit pessimistic with my past career choices, because I look at some of it and I'm like, that was just a complete waste of time, because it has nothing to do with anything that I'm doing now.
You think
and then
that,
I'll find myself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I tend to be pretty pessimistic about that, especially in regards to my school. I was like, this just has nothing to do with anything that I do now. But it's not the right way to look at it, because that's not even actually true.
Yeah.
And because here, in a few days, I'm flying to Nashville to, run a forklift and do a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise known how to do.
Sweet.
I'm going down there to move some new machines into the String Joy shop. And, it's going to be easy peasy, because I'm just drawing on past experience that, I wouldn't have otherwise had.
I think sometimes our experiences sort of add up, and it's almost like we think we choose what we're going to do, but actually it chooses us, because it's like a sum total of the area we feel comfortable going into. It's like, I feel comfortable going that way because there's lots of other things that might support it. Like, say, working with heavy machinery, there's something in the back of your mind, in your lizard brain, going, I don't have a problem with any of this. I can drive a forklift.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Used to drive much bigger things than this.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. So whereas somebody who'd maybe, been not being experienced to heavy iron, is going to go, So anyway.
Well, I mean, even soldering for the first time is a little bit intimidating if you've never done it. It's like, I don't know, but you have to think about well, I've done this similar thing before. I can probably handle it.
Yeah.
But I think it's, my partner in that business, Scott, he's much better about that.
Yeah.
I look at what he's doing now. I'm like, man, your past has nothing to do with any of this. But then when I listen to him talk about his career and how it's developed, I'm like, oh, it's all connected. And that's actually true for everyone. It's something I'm trying to work on mentally because it's a stupid thing to think. Like, everything leads you to where you are.
Yeah, totally. There was a mobile phone advert which I hated at the time, because it's kind of marketing men getting what's gonna sell the most things. But it was all about saying you are who you meet. And it's a similar thing with careers. You are what you've done. So it's a never unfolding tapestry, isn't it?
That's right.
Our journey through this planet.
Yeah, we're just all just particles bouncing around here trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah. Try not to get broken.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So
String Joy,
would you say
absolutely dope business, by the way, guys? It's really refreshing to see the kind of the way you guys have come into this thing, and because it can't be an easy sector to crack. So absolutely, brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's weirdly you wouldn't think it outside looking in, but strings are probably almost the hardest one to break into, I would say, based on my experience.
Yeah.
So and with good reason. They do a good job in a lot of ways, and so we had to figure out what holes are there to plug, and go from there, basically.
Yeah.
Which is probably the way to approach most businesses, if we're being honest. Try to figure out, the holes that you can plug.
Yeah.
But well, I was going to ask you, when did you start, would you say, really getting traction with this, so that it could be so much of your focus?
It's Brian's fault. Wampler.
Wampler's fault.
That's Brian. Totally. I mean, okay. So if we go back to the beginning of lockdown, of the whole pandemic thing, I've been in the travel industry for 10 years. I'd worked for the same company, really kind of, brown nosing corporate job. I hated every minute of it. But it paid the mortgage, I'd been building pedals for friends and, whatever, for a long time, and, local musicians for mates rates sort of thing. And I started to think kind of 6 months before the pandemic went, I really need to, crap or get off the pot basically on these pedals. Mm-hmm. And I thought, right. So I'd started working on, I'd put a website together. I'd got my branding sorted out, which is kind of rudimentary, but we all need some kind of image. And totally. And because I was ready, and I built this workshop. I wanted a workshop, and I thought, in the summer leading up to the pandemic, I built this, and then it all happened.
Right. It all happened.
Yeah, and being in the travel industry, boom, that was it. That was the first industry that just hit flatlined.
Yep,
completely.
Mm-hmm. In travel and live music gone instantly.
In days, literally in days. It was unbelievable the free fall that the industry went into. So anyway, I had posted a photograph of. I've got the pedal up here somewhere, but anyway, a photograph of a pedal on my Instagram, and Brian commented, "This is gorgeous." So I was like, "Oh, I like that." I screenshotted it, put it up on a group in Facebook called Fuzztopia, and just saying, "Oh, somebody likes my stuff" or something like that. Mm-hmm. Dan from the pedal show saw it, DM'd me and said, "Please send me one of these." And apparently he never asked people to send him stuff because he's always getting bombarded with stuff anyway. I sent it over to him. 3 weeks later, they did a show, featured me on the show, and literally that day I was thinking, what's that funny noise keeps coming from my phone? Ding, 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 ding. And it was the back end of my website. I didn't really know what the sales sound was on the app. What the notification sound was. Saying, what's that? All that? And we were driving up to. We had a little weekend away with the family up in near the coast, and we got there, and I opened up, what is all that business? And I was like, what? Where are all these sales coming from? Then I realised that it had been on the show, and because I kind of didn't realise they'd put the stuff on the show, and it literally hasn't looked back. My redundancy payment is still sat in the bank.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. It's one of those sort of perfect storm things, So and I guess the fact, as we were talking about earlier on, the fact that I've had my own businesses, that I've run businesses and things, I didn't find it daunting. So I found it fairly easy to steer the whole thing without it or, going to pot. Got an accountant, got a bookkeeper, quick sharp. So I could concentrate on building pedals.
That is a underrated part. I actually saw a friend of mine who was struggling with this small business the other day, and he was just expressing his frustration with how things were going. He's like, sales are great, but I can't seem to make any money. And I was like, I hate bookkeeping. I hate looking at spreadsheets and data, and that's not why I do what I do.
Yeah,
but you have to.
Yeah,
you just have to, even if you don't want to. It is the downfall of so many small businesses not keep track. They don't know where their numbers are at. I actually had a guy contact me who was looking to sell his small pedal brand, and it was doing pretty well. It wasn't the biggest in the world. He was just like, I kind of need to get out of this for personal reasons.
Yeah,
he's like, what do you think it's worth? I'm like, well, what are your numbers? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I sell about this much a year. I'm like, and how much is that as profit? What is, really basic, high level stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, because nobody's going to know how to value the thing if you don't know what your numbers are. And he's like, I don't even know how to find that out. because it was all just going into his personal bank account and all mixed together. And
it's
like, I know how easy that trap is to fall into, but anybody that's out there listening, don't do that. You will thank me later. Don't do it.
Literally for a few bucks a month, you can get an accounting package that pretty much does everything. You rig your PayPal up to it, you rig your bank up to it, and all that stuff happens automatically. You don't have to enter data in anymore. It's just easy. So I agree. I totally don't leave that stuff to the last minute.
No, and I say this for a little bit from personal experience too, because I've been that guy. Oh no, the end of the year. I got 3 days to file everything. Don't do that. It's unnecessary stress. You will thank yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing with running a small business, expect to spend probably 60% of your time not doing the thing that your small business is about. So building pedals, if I get half of my work week building pedals, that's a success.
Well, you do a really good job, especially for somebody that's, relatively not new to building pedals, but new to having a pedal company. You do a really good job with your content and keeping people informed on what's going on.
Totally.
And I mean, in fact, that's how this podcast happened, because you tagged me in one of those videos.
Yeah. The Monday Minute.
So, those are great, and people really enjoy that stuff. And I think that a lot of people don't quite, even in today's content-driven world, don't fully understand how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I read... There's a thing that floats around the internet. It's this handwritten page by one of Thelonious Monk's band members. Okay, the jazz pianist, and it's all these written notes. It's all about stay sharp. Leave the melody for me. That's my part, and all these sort of tips and things. And one of them was, don't scout for gigs, just show up on the scene.
Interesting.
Okay? And it's the same thing. Just be there. And that's a philosophy that I've always lived by. Really, if you want to be, you've just got to show up. And people like to see. I get lots of. I get kind of not a guilt complex, but I get concerned, that I'm not putting the work out fast enough, because people buy the stuff in advance.
Right.
It's the only way I can really handle it on my own. I then get to order the parts that I need. I can manage it. It's just easier to manage that way. But I always feel that even though people have been informed about my 90-day or 120-day wait list, if you ordered a pedal and went 120 days without hearing from somebody, even if you knew, you'd get a little bit like, are they still there? What's the radio silence all about?
That's a while to go with kind of radio silence.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Is.
So, and people really seem to enjoy, the progress of seeing things made and how they're made and what have you. And I've got no secrets, I'm not telling you where I buy my transistors, but I've got no secrets about what. I mean, there are none with the techniques all on the internet. Let's be honest. If you want to find out how to do what I do, you can spend a couple of hours and find it out on the internet. So there's no point in me hiding it. So I might as well share it in an easy to find way for everybody else to start, because it's great. I don't mind if people build their own pedals. It's not, it's. Do it. Get on with it, guys. It's not difficult.
I was going to say they may be able to find the information on how to do it, but I think it's going to take the aforementioned or not aforementioned, but the classically mentioned 10,000 hours or so to get to where things are quite to the level of cleanliness and tidiness that yours are at. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, you have to start somewhere, though. Yeah, it's not. It's such a great thing. Okay, I still get a buzz every time I finish a batch, and it's like, right, okay, time to check them, plug them in for the first time, and everyone, when it fires up, it's like, it's that first dopamine hit of that first pedal that you built that worked every time. You know, it's going back to that kind of first hit. And there's nothing like it, you know, having built a pedal yourself, plug it in, boom. Yeah, it's a great buzz still. Yeah.
Even better when it's like, you know, a new one maybe that's like, I've never built this circuit before. We'll see what happens. Absolutely. And of course, as you've built more and more, it gets a little bit easier.
There's 50 buzzes there waiting to happen, basically.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a new circuit as well, so that'll be interesting.
Ooh, fun! Can you tell us about it?
Well, I mean, they're all sold, so it's a circuit that's been introduced, but that's the first batch of them. So it's a Mark II Zonk machine, which is a silicon 2 transistor. The original Zonk machine is a tone bender type fuzz, based on the Mark I tone bender, but with some values sort of swaps really, and it's got a much more. It's got an upper octave that kind of blooms as the note kind of grows. Really, it's got a very crumbly decay, it's a really killer pedal. I've got a couple of the early versions out with some quite juicy players at the moment.
Nice. Nice.
It's good. I know it. I've had the feedback from the right people. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's really incredible when you get to wake up every day and, you know, like we said, maybe you're not doing the exact thing you want to do 24/7.
Living the dream, mate.
But
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, the accounts are a little bit of a bummer, but you know,
they're a little bit of a bummer. But like, you know, everything I do, like, it leads to me getting to do this. This is the goal. If I could just do this all the time, 24/7, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, it's really, we live in a world that's never really existed before.
Right.
Because, you know, previously, you know, pre-internet, you probably would have just been making those for your friends still, most likely, unless you really put out a concerted effort to get into stores, and which is a whole different beast that wouldn't really work with your model, I'm assuming, the way
not really. I mean, you know, it's the growth of the whole kind of the small builder, you know, with amps, guitars, pedals, you know, you name it, whatever kind of niche you're into, has never been more popular, because it and it's similar with music, to be honest. You know, we don't have with music, we don't have those massive icons anymore. It's all starting to be, you know, there's some around me, there's some absolutely amazing acts just in 25-mile radius. I know there's some brilliant musicians who are never going to get anywhere. When I say get anywhere, they're never going to get signed. They're never going to get a big tour. They're never, you know, but they are as good as anybody you see, you know, touring. And that's partly to do with the internet, because, they have the access to be able to put their thing forward and grab enough traction to give them the motivation to keep going. You know, whereas back in the 70s, getting that initial, even that tiny bit of traction that gives you that motivation was, you know, was really difficult. I'll go back to the 70s. That was a time when I was learning everything, you know.
Well, really, I mean, it wasn't that much different as far as the ability to make a living doing artistic type things, even in the 90s. It was still pretty much the same, you know? And that's what's so, like, the internet is not without its problems, obviously. They're very clear and obvious. But it's also, I think, I think it's reasonable to say that, especially for me, definitely, it's been a massive life improvement overall for a lot of us. You know, we're able to actually cut through the noise to some degree. Like, podcasting wasn't a thing. You know, I remember thinking as a little kid, I was like, oh, it might be kind of fun to be on the radio. Even now, looking at it, I'm like, I wouldn't really want to be on the radio. I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Imagine being a radio DJ these days, or people. It's a shrinking medium. It really is, because the growth of podcasts is just over the pandemic has been massive. Because there've been people forming new habits over the pandemic that won't get broken.
Yeah. Some people have said that that major events like that, especially at a global scale, which I don't think most of us have never, even our grandparents haven't really experienced that, it moves things forward that were already happening. And you can really see a lot of that. I mean, I don't have to explain. Pre-pandemic, I had to explain to almost every guest, okay, this is how we record. This is what we need to set up. This is what we need to do. And that happens once in a while now, but it's rare. Now it's just like, okay, what system do you use? I use this. Okay, cool. I don't need any more explanation because everyone's used to it.
Yeah, totally. And it's the same with a lot of things, with working from home. It's not alien to many people now, and it's just like you say, even to stream gigs, for instance. Before the pandemic, a stream gig was like, oh, that's a novelty, isn't it? You know, whereas now it's a thing. It's an absolute cement, a concrete thing. If somebody streams a gig, you just, oh, we're going to watch this or not? So it's set that in position, and I actually think it's past its kind of tipping point now, and I think stream gigs have got quite a long way to go. I think it will mature quite dramatically. I
think we'll start seeing probably very soon, really big performances that aren't just streamed. And actually, there was some of this done even during the middle of the pandemic. But like, we'll start seeing really high production, like basically like if you were watching something at the Grammys. I think you'll start seeing that become somewhat normalized. I think with larger acts,
absolutely,
you'll see Adele or whatever, and they'll be like, Adele's going to be live at this whatever Royal Albert Hall, on this date. You can stream it on her official YouTube channel for $12 or whatever.
And it kind of skips out a lot of the networks, because, back in the day, 10 years ago, it would have been down to, the big TV networks and they take a chunk of change out of it. And there's all the red tape and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, you can just get in an independent broadcast crew, film it, stream it straight out to your website, and it cuts. And really, I mean, again, we're talking about bringing that kind of quality of output down to smaller acts. It's much more accessible for local acts to be able to, stream, something that you would never have dreamed of doing 10 years ago.
No.
Multiple cameras, proper sound, all that stuff. For probably less than, I don't know, $800, you could probably get yourself a setup. It's crazy. Mind you, actually running that software, man.
I got a small taste of it when I went to JHS.
Yeah.
That live stream setup that they have is extremely impressive.
Oh, man, it's perfect example.
It's fun to watch. Yeah. It's fun to watch, like on the screen as a viewer, but seeing behind the scenes of how he actually did all of those little stingers that gets dropped in, that he has the box, all that stuff. He's manually reaching over. He's got it programmed, but he's manually reaching over and inserting those live on the fly.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people have actually accused him of it not being live.
Really?
And I'm like, no, it's very live. Like,
Yeah.
I was there. It's very, very live.
Words is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, words is hard. But yeah, that's a good example. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows what the world is headed to with that stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder how long major networks will even be able to support themselves.
Absolutely, because you know what Josh is doing is the without any regulation around it. You know, it's as good as a broadcast TV show.
Definitely.
It's know, I mean, it's a bit madcap and a little bit loose and all that kind of stuff. But you know, there's sometimes that's the sort of TV show that people want. You know, and yeah, I mean the quality of that stuff, and that's I mean you look at that pedal show again. The quality of their stuff is slightly more less madcap and less kind of zany, but it's still really great quality streaming. Excuse me, and yeah, there's more to come. You know, I mean, you see the quality of some of the gear demos we see. You know, you look at guys like Demos in the Dark. And we've got a guy in the UK called Dipswitch Demos.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, really, really great quality. And the Danish guy,
Danish Pete.
Oh yeah, no, not Purple Pete, but yeah, he's great. The guy that there was all that fuss about the Hendrix Strat, which I really feel for him because he came over to Denmark Street and played what he thought was a Hendrix Strat, and it was a bit shot down in flames. He did a whole video about it, and what's his name? Oh, it'll come to me anyway. But his stuff is absolutely stunning to look at. While we talk, I'm gonna see if I can find his name.
Sounds good. I actually didn't see any of that. So he played what he thought was a Hendrix Strat, and then it was a fake or something.
It was. I'm not entirely sure. Everybody. It was a fake. I think it was just a misunderstanding. People thought they'd probably got the Strat, and it wasn't one. You know, they'd kind of gone through it, and you know, lots of people had looked at the grain and all those sort of things, and eventually the interwebs decided it wasn't, and there was kind of quite a lot of trolling, you know, and it was Paul Davids.
Oh, Paul Davids. Okay, I missed that. I know Paul Davids, but I should have been able to pull that one out. He's pretty big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But his production quality is absolutely stunning. Really simple, beautifully lit. You know, really, really well put together. But it's actually really difficult to do something simple like that and make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm just now like getting into cameras and trying to learn all this stuff, and I had no idea how little I knew. I'm so behind the curve with all that stuff.
Yeah, video edit still. I mean, I have a photography degree, but in wet process photography from way back in the whenever it was, late 80s, I think. So photography, and I kind of played catch up with digital photography, but digital video just baffles me. Editing the stuff, and it's only a case of learning the language of the software. To be honest, I've just run out of space in my head. To be honest, you know,
I understand.
404 not found.
Redirect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am really fortunate because I would be even further behind than I am, but my friend Devon Whitaker, who's just incredible at that stuff, is holding my hand and shepherding me through the wilderness because I do not know what I'm doing. I'm actually taking I'm still building my rig out, but I'm taking an actual semblance of a camera rig with me on this trip just to practice. Because,
nice. Absolutely.
That's the only way you learn is by doing it. Really, some of this footage may never see the light of day, but at least I'll have getting my feet wet with it.
Yeah, it is. The only way to learn a card game is to play it. Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah.
And that's kind of the reoccurring thing that comes up on this podcast all the time. It's like, hey, just do it. Like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if you're trying to put out a record or if you're trying to build pedals or if you're whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. There's no reason you can't do it. I'm just some bonehead from Portland. I don't know. Like, I'm just talking into a microphone and hopefully people like it.
It hits some eardrums. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, you really have to skin your knees to begin with to get it right. If you sail into something and it all goes well, then you get down the line and something does go wrong, it hurts so much more than if all the little things have gone wrong first before they've actually got successful, because you know how to dodge them then.
Absolutely.
Or not make them happen. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point back to the, starting a small business, side of it, because you got a lot of your bumps and scrapes out of the way, with the printing business.
Yeah.
And otherwise I would hypothesize you wouldn't have been able to just kind of take off and run with this the way you've been able to.
Absolutely not. And the same building pedals for friends, and just because if they didn't work, it wasn't a big stress. I'd just be, we'll bring it back, we'll sort it out, and we'd have a jam as well, and a cup of tea and all that sort of stuff, and it gets sorted, and there'd be no hard feelings. Whereas if you get into it and you're selling the stuff, then I'm not saying there'd be hard feelings. It's just more stressful from my point of view. So I've learned all that stuff, what things work, what don't, what components you have to buy to make sure, don't skimp on the foot switch, don't skimp on this, don't skimp on that. You can get away with X, Y, Z, or not get away, but you can, where you cannot muck about, and you have to spend as much as you possibly can,
right?
Because it's very easy. There's a lot of guys out there I see, who start up, and I can see from just from what they're doing that they're using not substandard. That's cruel, but using cheaper components that don't necessarily have the lifetime. And these days it's you're in contact all the time, aren't you? Like, say, it's one of the things about the internet that if somebody gets something that's faulty, they're straight back, they're straight onto you,
right?
And and it needs to be sorted out, and rightly so. So it's like shooting yourself in the foot almost by using cheaper parts, if I'm absolutely honest, because it will come back to you.
Right. There is though a point of diminishing returns you have to balance too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know there's a pedal company here near me. I don't think they're around anymore, but they use what I consider to be the best stomp switches I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, there's no way these things are going to go bad. And I suggested to somebody, like, you should check these out sometime. They're like, oh, I have. They're like $23.
Carling,
I was like,
yeah.
The Carlings, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, that, maybe it is the best, and maybe it will never wear out. But also, are people willing to pay that much? Not generally. Not
totally.
Usually.
I get it. I mean, we're not, we're not navigating to the moon, are we?
Right.
It's, I mean, that's a good point. It's, I guess it's more about traceability. There's a lot of parts that come and you don't know where they've been made, how they've been made, what factory they're made in, all that sort of stuff. All my parts have, they come from a legit source, and they, that's what I mean when I mean pay for something. You pay more for that accountability than the actual. Yeah, I wouldn't spend $23 on a foot switch either.
It just doesn't end up serving the consumer in the way that it may seem.
No, no. Unless you've got
they
really
just end up
big boots.
Big. I mean, if anybody's ever stomped on one of these things or seen them, they're actually kind of hard to push. I mean, they're very, very, very robust. And I think that's because they're made to be used in heavy equipment and things like that. Yeah. So it's a little bit different thing.
I think they might be, for because obviously they're not just everything in a pedal is been all the parts that are in a pedal are designed. We're kind of bastardizing these pedals. They've been designed for something else, and we're a little offshoot, so the stomp switches, they're designed to turn, great big machines on and off that could crush your head,
Yep.
Yeah. So
really. Some of our string winders have the same on and off switches as some of the guitar pedals I've seen. It's like literally the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think a lot of people they forget that about this industry. They forget that like none of these electronic supply people made these transistors with the intention that they were going to be used in a fuzz pedal.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's right. They're all in heart rate monitors or flying rockets to the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I've the guys that I buy a lot of I use a lot of new old stock transistors. Everything else I buy new capacitors and resistors and whatever brand new, but my transistors, which I think are the key. You can't. There's something about old transistors that really does bring something to the party. And I've got a couple of guys that have got huge stocks of stuff and the dealers, and they are lucky enough that they had no idea about fuzz pedals when I first started working with them, and I've tried not to educate them too much.
They're like, oh, these old things, we were going to throw them away.
Yeah, exactly.
Like...
Yeah. No, they're not that stupid, unfortunately. But yes, and you've got some crazy old stock, and can't remember where I was going with this now. But yeah, they have customers that restore old medical equipment.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. And I understand old telephones and old kind of TVs and radios and all those sort of things. But yeah, that restore old medical equipment. Not obviously not for use, just so they've got,
right.
Like Monty Python say, is that the machine that goes bing? Just so they've got a machine that goes bing, I suppose.
I was gonna say, I don't know that I want the new old stock heart rate monitor. I kind of want the more accurate.
Yeah, that's right.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, my artificial lung was from 1969.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's funny. I did have something specific I wanted to talk to you about before we close out, and we're getting close to that. But obviously, you do point-to-point stuff. You're known for that. That's why people come to you. Do you ever see yourself, getting outside of that box, so to speak? Do you ever see yourself trying maybe some turret board or even going to a full PCB for certain designs? Because obviously you have to at some point for certain types of pedals.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself going there?
Well, I've recently have done a couple of OG fuzz faces. Mm-hmm. So, which, that's obviously on a traditional circuit board, the reproduction fuzz face circuit board. So, that's kind of one thing, I guess. But I know what you're getting to, that, in a kind of modern world, is there anything that I'm thinking about doing that needs a circuit board? Because there are limitations with point to point, You can't really. It starts to get spaghetti when you get into complex circuits.
Right.
Not at the moment, but I'm not going to rule it out in the future. But at the moment, I've got a plan to go with and do what I'm going to phrase sort of a tour grade version. I know that this is not. I haven't got it up here. I've got a prototype that uses tagboard in a very specific way, and I dropped it out of the first floor window to test it, and it still worked. It actually cracked the enclosure, but it still played.
Nice,
which I thought was quite cool. Whereas the point-to-point stuff that I do now is it's built to be robust. I build it so one of the considerations is structural integrity as much as the circuit looking pretty. So they're pretty tough, but one of the guys that I can't really mention wanted to have something that he could, that he could throw in a plane, that could travel all around the world and not be, not be a pain in the arse when he gets to the gigs. So I thought, okay, I'll build something absolutely, as strong as it possibly could be. So that's going to be my kind of next thing, which is not really a circuit board, but not strictly point to point.
Right.
It's there's two strips of fiberglass circuit board with tags on them, and then they're about sort of a couple of inches apart, and then the components are kind of, they link up in between those two strips. It's difficult to describe without having the.
I've seen that style before in amps. Usually.
Yes, it's similar, but this doesn't actually have the baseboard. This is these strips are suspended on some rods without it's something I've been working on for a year or so now. It's
oh, cool.
I'm sure I've got it somewhere. I know this is not a visual show, so
well, it might be.
It might.
That's
be.
why we're using this platform now. So
hold on,
I hope to.
Let me see if
I
I
hope
can
to
find
start
it.
putting these out. Oh, he's going for it.
Oh God, where's it gone? Oh well, it's not here.
Oh well.
Yeah, another day.
Well, you can find it later and we'll share it on Instagram. Or
yes,
something.
yeah. Mm-hmm. There is an Instagram post about it a few months ago, but yeah, well, I'll share it at some point.
Nice. Well, we're at that point in the show where we start winding things down, and I do have a couple of the classic questions that I need to ask you.
Yep.
But before I do that, this is the point where I like to let the guests take the floor and say whatever they want to say to, you got a few thousand people sitting in front of you right now, so you can plug whatever you want to plug, shout out your grandma or whatever it is. Yeah,
I'm not really one for plugging, but if you like fuzz, please come and have a look at my website, www.reeveselectro.co.uk, or my Instagram @ReevesElectro. I update multiple times a day. I try and take some nice photographs. If you like kind of, the whole pedal porn thing, you'll love my Instagram. And if you just want to buy a T-shirt, buy a
there
T-shirt.
Ooh,
I've got about 5 or 6
t-shirt.
designs, so there we go.
There we go. I like it. And seriously, everybody, if this is the first time you've heard of Markus, if you have not actually seen this with your own eyeballs yet, go see them and then go hear them played. It's really, really impressive stuff. So that's why he's here. He's here because I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And then, we've interacted a little bit on the interwebs, and now he's here on the show. So definitely go check out his work. I really recommend it because we're all big nerds and we like that kind of stuff.
Settle down, circuit nerd.
That's right. Richard, you got to make that shirt happen.
Yeah, man. He's going on about the graphic a bit too long, isn't he? I think he just needs to crack on.
I think so. I don't know. If he's feeling this good about it, I feel like you don't want to rush an artist.
No,
but,
absolutely not. No.
All right. So,
Okay.
classic questions. First one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
Ooh, I had a Boss phaser back in there. I can't remember which one it was. It was orange. I guess it was probably phase 90-ish kind of thing. Can't remember the name of it, but that was a cracking pedal. That was back in the late 90s, early 90s probably.
Oh man, that was probably a good old MIJ one too. I don't know the phasers that well. I can't think of that one off the top of my head. But the Boss phaser. Now I'm gonna have. Those are so many things we're gonna have to show later because we.
Yes.
That's all right. That's cool. All right, and finally, the classic question. This is the one that everybody gets up in arms about, but I have to ask: what is your favorite kind of pizza?
Oh man, I've recently had to go dairy free because the whole kind of milk thing I found out really disagrees with me. So one without cheese on it, man.
Oh,
Can't do
man.
it. I can't do it. I've even tried the vegan cheese, and honestly, it's like eating feet. It's hideous.
You'd rather not have cheese than have the vegan cheese.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather not have cheese. So unfortunately, it will be kind of like an olive and rosemary flatbed. I get bread, I guess.
Yeah, you can do the classic margarita. That's a good cheeseless option.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Sadly, yeah.
Okay, let's rewind though. Go back to your cheese eating.
Okay,
days.
back in the day. Yeah, all right. Okay. Well, it's got to be a meat feast. Absolutely, every possible meat in the planet on a pizza with all the cheese.
Oh yes, now you're talking. I do like to go. I've become a little more reserved, and kind of like trying to appreciate the complexities that are in a simpler pie when you really break it down. But sometimes
you just got a glutton, haven't you?
You got to do it.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to put all the meat on and just go for it.
A big meat, right, man? I follow all the grill and steak channels on Instagram as heavily as I do fuzz pedals.
Me too.
Yeah, and I tell you what, there's some absolutely amazing Turkish grill channels as well. If you've not checked out the whole kind of, I'll send you a link to a couple of guys, and that some of them that are just, you watch it and you're like, oh man, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I want a chicken sheesh. You see these things like, wow. So yeah, I'll link you up with some stuff because they're all really, I'd love to tell you the names, but they're unpronounceable Turkish names.
Got it.
But yeah, there's some great Turkish grill channels on. Yeah,
I'm excited. There's nothing I like better than new food things to follow. Yep. I will shout out one of my favorite, very pronounceable Instagram channels. It's Over the Fire Cooking.
Okay.
It's at Over the Fire Cooking. He's a dude in Nashville. Yeah, and everything he makes, I'm like, oh, I gotta try that. I gotta try that. Like, it's just and he breaks it down. It's great because he shows you what it is. Yeah. He gives you the 1 minute run through of how to do it. Yeah. And then he's like, for the full recipe, go to my website. It's there for free.
Yeah, absolutely. I love those places. Yeah. I follow Grill Nation. Mm-hmm. He's, hang on, let me see if I can get him up. I think it's Grill Nation.
Since we're on this subject... Oh, go ahead. You got him, Grill Nation?
Yeah, Grill Nation. Check out Grill Nation because he does exactly the same thing, but it's mostly Texas barbecue, and it's just like absolutely killer stuff. And he does like you say, 1 minute, and it's like bang, 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 and some of it looks like a heart attack on a plate, to be honest. But it doesn't. That's every Texas barbecue, isn't it?
I mean, that's kind of how I base my brisket is on Texas style. Yeah. And I cooked one last week that really turned out nice. I was really proud of myself. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. When it hits, it really hits.
Yeah, this Grill Nation guy. Yeah, he does his crust is to die for. Yeah. So, yeah, you're getting hungry already.
Yeah, I am. I'm hungry. I haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, since we're on this subject and we do have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you don't follow all these and just look at them. I imagine you do partake yourself.
I've got
what kind of grill setup do you got? Yeah, what do you got?
I've got a smoker.
Tell
I've
me.
got an oak smoker out the back.
Yeah.
So I'm big on smoking at the moment.
Yeah.
Smoking meat.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it quite enough on this show. I talk about pizza, which is a great love of mine, but I probably smoke more meat than I eat pizzas, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
I do it all the time.
And I just I charcoal grill everything, but smoking is just it's.
Yeah. A pellet grill is what I've been on for a few years, and they're like cheating. Everything you put on it, you just take a regular chicken breast, put a little. You don't even have to put anything on it if you don't want to. Throw it on there, cook it just normal, cook it till it's done, and it will be better than if you took the same breast and put it in an oven and cooked it at the same temperature. It gets a little bit of that smoke penetration, and it's just as easy. It's I love the pellet smokers.
I'll tell you one of the things that I've come across from this Turkish grill channel is they'll do all the meats and then they'll get a whole load of hickory chips, smash that on, and do all their flatbreads and like peppers and stuff like that with the wood smoke. And you have not tasted bread like it. Honestly, get some wood chip and just heat up some bread with it. The taste is off the charts.
Oh man.
Yeah. Seriously, it's crazy. Yeah,
I'm doing that today.
Yeah, only takes a couple of minutes, and it's like, whoa. Vegetables the same. They really suck in all that wood smoke flavour. So if you grill some peppers, or like a veggie kebab or something like that on there, it sounds really mundane, but with that wood smoke flavour, it is just
I've done that quite a bit actually.
Kill for.
Yeah. I do a lot of skewers with the peppers and onions. Onions take it really nice too. They really mellows them out. And I'm hungry. We're gonna have to stop. I gotta
grill
go.
breakfast. Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great chat,
brother. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you. All right, everybody. For Marcus, this is Blake, and as always, folks, good luck and good tones. There.
All right, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Marcus was a true joy to talk to, and if you have not checked out his pedals, please make sure you do so. Get over to his social medias, check him out, go to his website, check that out, and pick one up because he's making really cool stuff. And if you want to hear more of this episode, you can slide yourself over to Patreon, where for $5 a month, you too can get more episodes beamed directly to your ears every single week. There is so much content over there for you. There are hours and hours of conversation. So if you are the type of person who, like me, listens to hours and hours of podcasts, that might be a good thing for you to check out. So go over to patreon.com/tonemob and help out the show, get extra content. It's a win-win for everybody. I really appreciate everybody who does that. I really appreciate you for listening. And if you can't do that right now, as I ask every single week, please share this with a friend. Share this with somebody. That is the only way this keeps going, is if more and more people keep listening, because that's how podcasts work. So if you could share this with somebody you think would enjoy it, and you might have to do it several times before they'll actually get in and listen, I would very much appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you for taking the time to listen to this on this fine day. So I will be with you on the internet. Talk to you very soon. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.